Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today I have with me Shaykh Anisul Haq, who is now in Charlotte with us. Originally he's from Jamaica, New York or somewhere.
Queens,
Queens, New York.
Flushing.
Flushing, New York.
That's where I was born. But
Assalamu alaikum,
I
Shaykh.
don't
How are you?
claim to be from there.
No,
Wa
he
alaikum
doesn't claim
salam
to.
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So, mashallah, Shaykh will be joining us, for the foreseeable future, inshallah. And Shaykh is originally from New York, born in New York, raised in Houston. He, mashallah, he studied in Houston. He has a degree in management information systems from the University of Houston. Then later on, he went to Medina, mashallah, in the city of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He spent a few years, 4 years there?
6.
6 years there. Actually, he spent 6 years there. He studied Quran. He was in what's it called, the school of Quran, right?
No, Sharia.
Sharia.
Yep.
Okay. But you also did you also spent some time at the Quran school, right?
No. So you do 2 years of Arabic.
Okay.
Then you go to like the college
Okay.
to do the bachelor's.
Okay.
So after the Arabic course I went to Sharia.
Okay.
But I read Quran to my teacher.
Okay.
But he was an American PhD student.
Okay.
But he had basically he was registered with Masjid Nabawi
Okay.
to give
Subhanallah.
ijaza.
Oh,
Right? So
okay,
I did my ijaza in Quran
okay.
in Hafs
Okay.
with
Okay.
him.
Acha. But you were in school for Sharia though.
Yeah. I didn't do Quran or anything like that.
Okay.
But
So you weren't in Kulliyatul Quran.
no.
Okay.
I wish, but
That's pretty tough.
So the thing with Quran students is that once they start their studies, they kind of disappear. You never see them, right?
Okay.
And if you do, they're usually just around other Quran students.
Okay. That's
And
fine.
it's because it is very like time consuming because you have to memorize like 1,000-line poems. You have to memorize
Subhanallah, really?
You have to memorize Shatibiya, you have to memorize, and you have to recite them. You have to memorize and recite them.
Oh, you can't. You have to memorize them and recite them.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
Like they test you on it, so you have to know it like pretty well.
So if you were in Kulliyatul Quran, that would have been like you would have been gone.
Yeah, and having wife and
yeah, exactly. You were there with your wife and kids. That would have been.
And my oldest son.
Yeah.
Just one at the time.
Yeah.
When I started, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something that I could benefit from and benefit others with, but still give time to my family too. So
no, that would have been tough. I didn't realize that. I know anywhere you go to study, if it's a proper Islamic seminary, proper Islamic school, that it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah,
definitely. If you're wanting to get like the real level of knowledge, it's not going to be just like, hey, let's have fun. 2 hours of class and let's have fun after. You're going to put in a real amount of work. But I imagine even Sharia was pretty rigorous.
It is, but so they're all pretty rigorous. Sharia is a little watered down because you have the most locals attending Sharia, so they kind of like make it more accessible and easier for students to pass through.
Okay.
But the most time consuming of the colleges are Quran and Hadith.
Okay.
Quran because you're memorizing all these poems and having to recite and learning different qira'at and stuff. So Quran, you think that they would be tafsir intensive, which they are.
Yeah.
But really it's more like qira'at and whatnot. So Hadith, it's intense because you have to memorize. So we have to memorize in Sharia like a handful of Hadith every semester, probably like 50. They have to memorize 250.
Subhanallah.
And not just, not just the matan, not just the Hadith itself. It's not like you can just memorize ad-din al-nasiha and that's a Hadith. No, you have to memorize the whole chain.
Okay.
Right, of narrators, and then
also
the Hadith itself. So there's pretty intense as well.
That's pretty intense. Okay. So mashallah.
Or they study the chain. I don't think they have to memorize the entire chain.
Okay.
But they still have to know whatever's written in the book. They have a book that they'll memorize from.
Yeah.
It's called Al-Muharrar.
I mean, that's still pretty. That's pretty rigorous.
Achha. Yeah. So Al-Muharrar is like the Hanbali version of Bulugh al-Maram.
Okay. Bulugh al-Maram.
So,
and what's it called? And then Shaykh, he finished up in Medina. Then you came back to America?
Or you went just for the summer because we were going to Malaysia.
Then he went to Malaysia. He was about to start his master's, and then the magical sickness known as COVID came about.
Yeah.
And everything went into shutdown. All the colleges, universities, everything over there?
Everything was shut down until the foreseeable future,
Even
and
the
then
tandoor?
they, huh?
You couldn't even get bread?
So it was really strict, right?
Really? Acha.
Government slash military lockdown.
Acha.
They had checkpoints like
Acha.
everywhere, so they only allowed one person per household
That's it.
to travel to go get groceries and stuff. So we wouldn't even like, and then you couldn't. They shut down like the trains and everything. So you couldn't. They have a really good like rail system,
Acha,
like
do
light
you? Acha.
rail. Like it's amazing. You
Acha.
can get anywhere with it, but you couldn't take it in the beginning. Like it was completely shut down,
Acha.
and then call it. So basically, like if we needed stuff, we would just go. So everything in Malaysia, majority of like the residential areas are
Mhm.
high rises.
Okay.
So within the high rises, they'll have shops and stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe even some restaurants here and there. So
Okay.
that was convenient,
Okay.
but you can't get everything there, and some things are. It's gonna be more pricier than going
Yeah.
to the grocery
Or
store and
or
getting
even
stuff.
since you guys are desi, you guys would like maybe the ingredients aren't really
Malaysia is very very diverse
okay.
because Malaysia is made up of the Malays,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The local Malays. Then you also have the Indian
Yeah. Yeah.
Malaysians, and then you have the Chinese
Yeah.
Malaysians.
This one.
So those are the three main,
Okay.
I guess, groups that make up Malaysia.
Okay.
So you can find a lot of
Okay.
like desi stuff.
Acha. Acha.
And because by virtue of it being a Muslim country and very friendly towards Muslims, you
Yeah.
get a lot of Arabs
Okay.
that go and live there.
Okay. Okay.
Especially surprisingly, a lot of Syrians and Egyptians moved there, right? Various reasons, civil war,
Okay.
Arab Spring, all that stuff. So a lot of I saw a lot of Arabs there. A lot of
Okay.
Saudis go there to study.
That's nice.
So you see a lot of that. So it was difficult to go because we had to call a cab. We didn't have a car. They have what's it called over there? It's called Grab, right?
What is that, like Uber?
Grab is like it's the Uber of Southeast Asia,
Okay.
right? So Singapore, Thailand, not did I say Singapore? Yeah,
You
Singapore,
said Singapore,
Thailand, um, uh, Indonesia, Malaysia. They all use Grab,
yeah. Acha.
right? It's kind of like how in the Middle East and in Pakistan they use
Kareem.
Kareem,
Yeah.
right? So Kareem was started by an Arab guy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Kareem
became
is Kareem is the Arab company.
yeah. So it became popular in
Obviously got bought up
Pakistan.
by Uber. Kareem.
So did they get
Yeah,
bought
they
out?
got bought up by Uber.
Okay, I thought they like just made an agreement. So Grab, Uber and Grab kind of did the same thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Uber's like, we'll pull out, but we're gonna have like a kind of like a
Equity or
agreement.
something. Yeah.
And then I don't know if they bought them out or if they
Okay.
still have this agreement. But basically, yeah, there's no Uber there. You just use Kareem.
Acha. Acha.
Whereas in Saudi, you can still use Uber,
Yeah.
but Kareem is just more popular. Nobody
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
uses
I
Uber.
mean, I think it's because of the name. Maybe people feel more comfortable or something.
Yeah, especially for like foreigners and stuff. I'm sure they're more used to Uber.
But so you were using Grab.
Yeah, we had to use Grab to get everywhere.
Okay.
Or like if there was like a restaurant open, like it was kind of like DoorDash. They would deliver food as well. But like I said,
Did you have a car there?
it gets no, I didn't.
Oh,
Like
okay.
we were trying to set our lives there.
Okay.
You know, like we had an apartment in a high rise.
Okay.
We had the money to buy a car. I was just searching for cars and stuff.
And then COVID
Because
happened.
also like we were family of four. We didn't
Yeah.
want like a small car. We
Yeah.
wanted something that kind of fit the
You know,
family,
the
whatever.
Toyota Previa.
No. They have Malaysia actually has their own car brands.
Really?
Yeah, they have one called Peradua,
Acha.
and shoot, what's the other one called? But they have like two brands, right? Proton,
That's
yeah.
interesting. So you were in Malaysia. COVID happened. Then you tried to make it back.
We came back because we were expecting our third child,
Okay.
and my wife's hospital and doctor were pretty far away.
Oh, okay.
And with the COVID restrictions and everything, it was really stressful,
Okay.
right? Stress for a pregnant woman is not good.
Yeah, no.
So we were just like, let's just go back, and then we thought, oh, COVID's gonna be over in 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, what was the timeline they gave?
They said 3 months. I think 90 days was
something
by
like
the
that.
summer it would have been over.
Yeah, and we were, what was it? Ayub's due date was August.
Okay.
So we thought like, okay, we'll leave we tried to leave in April of that year. When was it?
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
We tried to leave in April. We booked tickets, Emirates, everything, which we still haven't gotten refunded for.
Really?
Yeah,
that must be a few $1,000s.
We used Chase points.
Oh, okay.
We used like over 90,000 points to book these tickets, man. And they're giving us such a headache every time I call them. It's a headache.
Emirates?
No, man. I don't know if you want to hear the story, but it's like in order to get a refund on the points, Chase has to get Emirates to reissue the ticket so that they can refund it. They've supposedly done this like 2-3 times already, but we never got the points back.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I can still harass them if I want, but I don't know.
That's a good bit of points.
It is.
You can go for Umrah.
So the flight got canceled, right? The Emirates flight got canceled. Yeah. So we're like, okay, let's just book whatever flight we can. Yeah. We had to go through basically Japan's main airways. It's called ANA, All Nippon Airways. Okay. Right. So I had to get permission from the U.S. Embassy to travel back. Be like, hey, I'm a U.S. citizen. I want to go back to my country. That kind of thing. Yeah. I got the letter, and then we had to basically find somebody that would drive us to the airport. Right. And so we found I got numbers for some guys. We called them. They're taxi drivers. Okay. But like basically they knew the routes to kind of avoid the checkpoints and stuff. It wouldn't have been a problem, but it would have just it's just easier to avoid them. Right. We would have still been able to get through. We get to the airport. It's completely empty. All the lights are off. Only like 1 or 2 counters are open. We get to Japan. Completely empty. Right. We found one family. They're an American family that had moved to Malaysia, right? Some random American Jewish family that moved to Malaysia because they wanted to live there. It's a nice place to live, very scenic. It's rainforesty, like lots of nice views. They had like some nature or like some photography company, whatever. That's what they did. So they're the only family we ran into over there. Otherwise, the whole airport was empty as well.
Wow.
So we flew Malaysia to Japan to Houston.
Really? It's your direct flight?
Yeah.
So they were also from Houston, the Jewish family?
No, where were they going back to? I forgot where they were going back to. But yeah, they weren't from Houston.
So how was the plane though? Was it empty from Japan to Houston?
Yeah, not empty, but
it was pretty.
It was pretty empty. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
So you made it back. So then
this was in the middle of Ramadan, right?
In COVID. First COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like I said, originally we were trying to leave by April, like first week of April. Yeah. Ramadan that year was like May, June or something like that, right? 2020.
Yeah.
So we had to spend a couple of days or weeks in Ramadan in Malaysia, but just in our own house, in our own apartment. And then we were able to get back to Houston. So then we spent the rest of Ramadan, at least,
Alhamdulillah, that was
with my
otherwise
parents.
A lot of people were stuck for 6-8 months a year. Places like
yeah. No, I mean even students in Medina, they had to get like flights chartered by the U.S. Embassy to get them out of Medina.
Oh,
and I mean that then caused a whole nother batch of issues for them. But...
So then since then you've been here in America.
Yeah, pretty much. We didn't go back. No,
you haven't tried moving anywhere else. Indonesia, Brunei, or somewhere.
No, man. We need to go back because we thought we were gonna go back.
Apparently, he has like a container of stuff left over there. He needs to get
storage. It's in storage. Yeah, like what furniture, clothes, books.
His stuff is probably on one of those shows now.
Probably, man. You know when they buy those storage units.
Okay, so that's a story of educational story.
Oh yeah.
But so something I wanted to talk with him about today. I'm going to ask him a few questions.
Yeah.
One of the most, marriage season is coming up, right? Summer is marriage season for these people.
I thought it was winter.
Is it? I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, no, they have weddings in December, and then they also have weddings in like, July, June, July, stuff like that. So, so marriage season is coming up, and obviously in the United States over the course of the last few years, there's been tons and tons of controversy related around marriage and how people do marriage. I've done a bunch of khutbahs over here at the masjid about, how marriage should happen, how austere it should be, things like that, how we should avoid haram elements, things like that, which we find from the, the Sunnah and the Hadith and things like this. We can look in there and, we see the example of the wedding of Hazrat Fatima radiallahu anha and how simple it was. It's not to say that, hey, don't do anything, just sit and don't do anything, but just try not to be extravagant.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I kind of want to ask why did you want to talk about this topic with me?
Well, I wanted to talk about it with him is because we hear things like this in this community throughout the United States, like I said, where wild things happen. Like people will give multiple divorces to their wives.
Oh, okay.
People will do like khufia marriages, as we call them, like secretive
Yeah,
marriages,
yeah, secret marriage.
things like that, which are causing like these ripple effects in the community and society,
Hmm.
which they're trying to be addressed, but they're either being addressed by the wrong people or people just don't care or listen. And a lot of times, like I know the topic is spiritual abuse. That's the word that's used. I don't think that's a proper term. I think there should be another term for it. It's just straight up abuse.
Yeah, but I guess it's because abuse comes in different forms,
Yeah, it
right? You
does
can
come.
be abused. There's financial
Yeah, there's
abuse,
financial
there's
abuse.
emotional abuse,
Yeah,
there's physical
yeah.
abuse, there's I guess nowadays spiritual. I mean,
Spirit.
not nowadays, but I'm
It's been
sure.
going on for
Yeah, yeah.
centuries.
But now they
Um,
put a term to it.
Now they put a
So,
term to it. So obviously, there's marriage is supposed to be, as they say, half of deen. You find your better half, you guys get married, and then you guys help each other get better. Obviously, marriage is not perfect. People will have arguments, fights, things like that. It's about getting past all of that and trying to
mhm.
find common ground to make each other better. And especially from an Islamic perspective, when we get married, you know, we try to improve ourselves, each other, as far as our deen goes. And then we try to find friends groups which are very similar to ourselves,
Mhm.
who have similar principles and stuff like that. So one of the things, obviously, which happens in our society, which this is the first one I'm sort of going to ask you about, is the triple talaq. And people play these games like, oh well, I wasn't intending to get. First of all, people are like, hey, I wasn't intending on giving talaq. I was just angry. And then there's the other one where it's like people are like, I gave it, but three is one and one is three and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
you hear that a lot. You see that a lot. It happens in all the communities throughout the world now,
Yeah.
where it's become a problem. And how do you see this as a problem? What is the reality behind it, and what is the solution for it?
Well,
I know it's a compounded problem.
the triple talaq issue. That's what you want to address first, right?
Yeah, first,
This
yeah, yeah,
okay. Triple talaq issue. Um, Personally, from
yeah,
experience of dealing with couples that come in, or
yeah.
a husband that comes in and talks about this, they'll I've noticed that it's usually like first generation or immigrants that have this issue,
Yeah,
right? Because they probably, you grow up with it, you see it in dramas and
yeah,
stuff, like you see it on TV.
yeah, yeah.
It's it's not something that I have heard about
Okay,
or witnessed myself with people who grow up here.
okay, okay.
And first off, from a fiqhi standpoint, there's a difference of opinion.
Yes.
Does it count as one? Does it count as three?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Um, so I like the explanation, that's given basically, like Umar radiallahu an,
Well,
he would take it as three
okay.
because it's a serious matter. It's a
Yeah,
serious issue.
it's not a joke.
It's not a joke if you're not in your right mind enough to
Yeah,
take it seriously, or if you're taking it as just something to throw out there, then there's
yeah.
consequences for it,
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely.
So also, what is the point? Why would you give a triple talaq?
Yeah,
Just give one, and if you go through the idda period,
yeah,
um then khalas, like
yeah.
that's it,
I mean,
right?
I think I
You're not
think
married
for a
anymore.
lot of guys, it's like they use it as like a threat to, and it's not right. I'm not saying it's right, but
No,
it's like
talaq
sort of
should
like a.
never be a threat,
So
obviously.
that's what see people. They don't. First of all, they don't take the whole marriage process seriously anyway, as it is.
Yeah.
Marriage, is not taken very seriously.
Hmm.
Even after problems happen, people don't try to take things seriously, and then they use this as sort of like leverage or a threat or something like that. And it's like you said, it's not supposed to be a threat. It's a serious matter.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense. The whole reasoning for having um you know three chances to
Yeah.
do divorces is it you should see it as a mercy,
Okay.
that if I screw up or I realize that I did something wrong or messed up, I have the chance to, take my wife back
Yeah.
if she'll have me back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise it's like, okay, khas, if you do the singular
Yeah.
talaq, then you go through the waiting period and then you're officially not husband and wife anymore.
Okay.
You can get remarried, you
Okay.
can get back together, You just need to do
But
a
the
new
strike stays.
the strike stays, but
Okay.
you have to renew your marriage
Okay.
contract. You basically have to do your nikah again,
Okay. Okay.
right? After the 3,
Yeah.
then it gets serious. You can't get your wife back until she
Yeah.
marries somebody else.
Yeah.
They consummate the marriage, and then
In honesty.
in honesty, and
Yeah.
they get divorced. None of this, there's actually like people out there
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'll marry your wife so you
Yeah.
can get back with her."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's messed up, man.
Yeah.
Like,
That's haram.
it's haram.
Okay. Haram.
You can't
Shaykh
do
says
that.
haram.
You can't do that, right?
That's
That's who are you trying to fool? You're trying to
Yeah.
fool Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, it's not, forget about being halal or haram. Like this, who are you trying to deceive in this
Yeah.
case? Like,
Yeah.
who are you trying to pull a fast one over? The girl's family, your family, like the general public?
Yeah.
Like, these are issues of taqwa. Like, you have to think like Allah knows what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
know,
no, without a
so
doubt.
uh, so like, okay, if you take it as one,
Yeah.
like 3 talaqs is equal to 1 if you do it in one sitting, then you just honestly, like, I would tell that person, like, go check yourself into anger management. Like,
Yeah.
why are you saying it?
Yeah.
And then, I've had people say that, oh, I wasn't in my right mind. I
Yeah.
didn't know what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a hadith that says that if a man is out of his mind and he says it, then it doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's like, how many times are you going to use that as an excuse?
Yeah.
So I had a couple come in, and the guy clearly had anger issues, right?
Yeah.
He basically used talaq as like a manipulation tactic,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Manipulation.
Threat, manipulation, abuse, right? This is
Okay.
emotional abuse.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think a wife who's supposed to feel safe
Yeah.
and comfort in her home with her husband,
Yeah.
how's she gonna feel if she thinks that every time her husband gets angry, he's gonna kick her out the house or threaten her with talaq?
Yeah.
Right? That where's the peace? Where's the sukoon there? Right?
Yeah.
And there is none. So they had other issues as well, but I
Yeah.
straight up told the guy, I was like, I was like, the both of you need to go to therapy.
Yeah.
And you need to take anger management. Like, you need to fix
Okay.
this. I don't know what happened to them. They never came back or followed up or anything. But like, like I said, this issue, it seems to be more with immigrants, right?
Yeah.
But there is a broader issue of not taking marriage as seriously.
Yeah.
Even like homegrown kids here,
Yeah.
Boys and girls here. And to that, I feel like no, and I wish this could be some type of standard across the board.
Yeah.
But you're always gonna find somebody who doesn't care,
Yeah.
or will not enforce certain procedures. But any couple, young or old, they should get some type of premarital counseling with a professional.
Yeah.
Right? You have, Ihsan coaching.
Yeah.
You have Suhba Institute. You have other avenues that are providing these services.
Yeah.
And they should be taken advantage of. Or if you know an imam that will provide it, right? Although, like, if there's an imam that wants to provide the service, they themselves should get some type of qualifications in counseling. Otherwise, they need to find resources to send people to, right? And like I said, it could be a family or marital therapist with an Islamic background, or it could be an imam that has a psychology background or therapy background, or it could be something like Ihsan Coaching or Suhba Institute that provides the services. And they need to do it so that a lot of young people, they don't really know themselves, but that doesn't mean you want to prevent them from getting married. You want to prepare them, be like, hey, these are expectations, this is what you should know. If you guys are still discovering yourself or finding out who you really are as a person, you need to have certain, like, set expectations. Usually, especially within like Desi community, right? It's like, oh, usually the son is at home, he's treated like a prince, doesn't have to do any housework, nothing like that. It's usually all the daughters who do that because they're training to be housewives, right? Cooking, cleaning, taking care of themselves, picking up after the rest of the family, right? In a typical Desi household, like old school, old mentality, the son doesn't do anything. The son,
that's true.
The son is expected to go and study and get it and do his, and go do his schoolwork, do his schooling, get his education, get a good job, and provide financially for the family. Right. Whereas when girls come here now, or girls who grow up here, they have all of the educational expectations as well. But then on top of that, they're expected to, be trained in taking care of a household. Right?
I saw a video today. My wife actually sent it to me, where it was like, women are expected to not only be professionals, but are also expected to be housewives is like that's like 2 full-time jobs. It's like it's
No, being a housewife, and then on top of that, also being a mother.
yeah,
This is more than 2 full-time jobs. That's
yeah,
like 4 full-time
yeah.
jobs right there.
And then having a job, some people
Because
expect that
look,
as well.
you're expected to prepare the meals for the entire
Yeah,
family. Three
yeah,
meals
yeah,
a day for 3 to 4, 5 individuals, however big your family
yeah,
is, right? And then also cleaning. So
yeah,
cooking is a profession.
yeah,
Cleaning is a profession,
yeah,
right? Um, and then being a wife and
yeah,
tending to the needs of your husband,
yeah,
and then being a mother tending
yeah,
to the needs of the children.
yeah.
Which, face it, usually the mother is the one
Who does
tending
most of
more
it?
to
Yeah,
the needs of
yeah,
the
yeah,
children than the father is. So it's like it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, you want them to have like masters or PhD.
yeah,
Like I've heard of families that say they want like a doctor or lawyer or engineer as a wife,
yeah.
but then they don't want her to work.
Yeah.
They
What's
don't
the
want.
point?
There's no point. If she goes through all this education, let her work.
Yeah,
You know, if and if she has a good education and
yeah,
she has a good job, then aside from, which is this is like a this is more of like a institutional problem within
yeah,
our country, but like aside from having the baby and being
yeah,
with the baby in its early years,
yeah,
right? So that brings up the problem of maternity leave
yeah,
and paternity leave,
yeah,
which is messed up here anyways.
yeah,
But
yeah.
aside from that, what is wrong with the wife working? Like, if the kids become school age and they're in school all day,
Yeah,
what do you expect her to do?
yeah,
If she has all this education
yeah,
and this will to work, and if she's in a proper suitable environment for her to
yeah,
work, then let her work. There's so many work from home jobs now too that they
yeah.
can do very easily
Well,
you know
I mean, as far as our cultures go, I mean, obviously, Sheikh comes from a Bengali family. I come from a Pakistani family. Who originate from Gujarat, India. But like one of the other problems our society has is they try to change the girl. One of the ways which I really hate is when they try to get sisters to take off their hijab.
I don't know. So alhamdulillah, I've never had to deal with that,
Acha.
and I've never witnessed that within
Yeah,
my own family or my extended family or my
yeah,
in-laws or anything like that,
yeah,
right? Like you mentioned, like my background is my family's from Bangladesh.
yeah,
My mom's side is technically, they're like Bengali but from India,
yeah, yeah,
and then my nani side is Bihari,
yeah, yeah.
right? So there's,
A little bit of a mix.
yeah, and then my wife's side's Mayman,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
Pakistani
So,
women.
and although Bengalis have their traditions,
Yeah.
they aren't like super hard on any traditions, in at least religiously,
You reminded me of that story where those guys send you that TikTok of the guy bringing the fish to the girl's house.
Oh my god. So these are
They have
those
some tradition where
they
you bring the
have
fish to the girl's house.
they have those traditions,
Okay.
but it doesn't affect like your religion or anything, right? These are just like cultural traditions, right?
Yeah,
And then like Maymans are very traditional,
yeah, yeah, they are.
right? They're very traditional, right? But alhamdulillah, like their traditions don't really like put your religion into question,
Well,
right?
some of them. There's certain branches of Maimanry where the girl's family gives the guy like a gift of a house and stuff like that. You
But
didn't
those are
get that.
gifts. Those are gifts,
Well,
right?
it's like seen as a
It
mandatory gift. That's the problem.
Yeah, but that's
He's like, I didn't get a house.
that's keeping up with tradition,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's not, like, I get where you're coming from, because
yeah,
I know that is a thing, right?
yeah, yeah,
To to get a house, see, the extent that I heard of
yeah,
is that they will, they might get you some furniture, like
yeah.
bedroom
No,
furniture,
no,
living
no,
room
no. This
furniture,
is like
whatever. Like,
in this like sort of like offshoot within the Maiman community is like you have to get the guy something big. Like you have to. That's
every
problematic.
every little branch or offshoot or
Yeah,
group will have their
yeah,
extremists,
yeah, they
right?
do. Yeah,
So
we're talking about marriage.
yeah, marriage within the Maimon
Yeah,
community,
marriage
right?
within the Maiman community.
I mean, look, alhamdulillah, my in-laws are amazing people.
Yeah,
They mashallah, religious,
yeah, alhamdulillah.
namazi,
Namazi,
you know.
Namazi Paraskar.
So alhamdulillah, like I couldn't have asked for better in-laws.
Alhamdulillah.
So I never really
He's
saw
gonna
any.
cut this part and send it to his in-laws.
No, I no, alhamdulillah, they know. Mashallah. So I've never had to experience that where it's like,
Alhamdulillah.
oh no, we don't want you, because it's like, why would you approach a hijabi girl
Yeah,
for marriage and then be like, no, you have to take it off?
yeah. No, absolutely.
Like, I could I could see the other way around, but even that doesn't make sense.
No,
Why?
so
Why would?
I think the idea is that they know that she has a sharafat in her,
Mm-hmm.
that she wears the hijab, so they can now boss her around in a different way. That's the only thing that I can think makes sense.
Yeah.
What other reason would you find a hijabi and then make her take it off?
I get what you're saying. Like, oh, we know she's a good girl.
Yeah.
So even though you look a beard, and you even praying 5 times a day doesn't guarantee that you're a pious
No,
person,
definitely not.
right?
No.
There's many crooked people that
Yeah.
come to the masjid for 5 prayers,
Yeah.
and then everything else within their home or their business dealings, whatever, it's all
Haram.
haram or just
Haram
shady.
alik.
So like wearing hijab is not a sign of piety.
No, absolutely. You're right.
It's a sign of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that's just in one aspect.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a veil, but it's not a veil for you against all other forms of evil and sin, right? Just like for us, wearing a topi, wearing a beard, coming to the masjid, that's not.
We don't wear beards.
We don't
have them.
We have them.
We have
Did
them.
I say wearing a beard?
You said wearing a beard.
Oh, I thought
I'm gonna have to make a clip about that one.
Having a beard, growing out your beard, and wearing a topi, and coming to pray at the masjid.
He's not wearing one.
It's not a sign. Yeah, I'm not. I'm Bengali, but I don't conform to Desi.
I put up a video yesterday where the Bengali community of Jackson Heights had the mayor of New York wearing a topi. We can't get him to wear a topi.
I don't know, man.
I gotta send you up to Jackson Heights. They'll straighten you out. They got the mayor straightened out.
Oh man.
Okay, so I want to shed some light on this.
Okay.
We have a little bit of time before Isha.
We have 15 minutes.
Yeah, secretive marriages.
Okay.
Secretive marriages. They tend to be problematic, and they usually end up being problematic.
Yeah, of course they're problematic.
A lot of times they end up not even being marriages. They end up being some sort of like, what do you call that? Like a card trick or something like that, essentially, if you want to put it that way.
Smoke and mirrors?
Yeah, smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of problems with secretive marriages. Now, obviously, when I talk about marriage, especially when I give a khutbah or a bayan or something like that, I mention many of the stories or the hadith or the stories where the Prophet ﷺ used to mention to the Sahaba, even if they didn't invite him to their nikah, he would mention to them, hey, go cut a goat, feed the people.
Have a walima.
Have a walima.
Yeah.
So it's announced, right?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody can't afford to do a walima or something like that, still they can give out dates or we have the rivaj or the tradition where at the nikah people give out chware, the dry dates and stuff like that. In Desi culture in Pakistan, people will give out like the chware. They have some dry dates and some what's it called, softer dates, and then they have some almonds and stuff like that.
I mean, you just give out some type of mitai,
some sort of something. Yeah. And obviously, the thing about it with the shwari bag, people obviously end up spending a lot of money, but these are things which are actually supposed to be affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the problems is obviously, like we said at the beginning, spiritual abuse.
Yeah,
you're seeing this a lot in, like, I guess, clergy type figures and stuff like that, where they end up doing it and it becomes a big thing and it becomes an issue in the community. If they're an imam of a masjid, or if there's some sort of famous figure within the community, it becomes a big issue. Now explain to us nikah. I'm not asking you to go back to the basics or anything like that. Khufya nikah or secretive nikah, what are the problems with it?
Okay, so number one, you want to see if the nikah that's being done, is it like legit, right? And when we were speaking before, you were talking about like the like they're super shady, illegitimate ones, right? So if you were to do a secret marriage, but you still do it within the confines, parameters of the Sharia,
you have two witnesses.
You have the witnesses. If you want to, people will be like, oh, just do the Hanafi way, no wali.
Yeah, no, there's a way, but that's not like our ulama, like even Mufti Tariq Masood and them, they say, yeah, it's permissible, but it's not what would you say it? It's not
like it shouldn't be the norm.
No, it shouldn't be it's not I can't remember the word. It's not encouraged.
It's not encouraged
at all. It's not encouraged at all. He's like, don't come to me with that.
And even within Hanafis, it's like if there's no wali present and you want to proceed with the marriage, the qadi takes the role of the wali.
Yes, absolutely.
And then if the wali shows up later
Yeah.
and says, no, I don't approve of this,
Yeah.
then you can't go on with the marriage.
Oh, okay.
So it's like there's people always ignore these things, right? But you're talking about the shady stuff, like no witnesses, no walima, no announcement, nobody knows about it. It's basically some guy trying to manipulate a woman, or it could even be vice versa. I don't know. But usually it's a guy manipulating a woman so that they can get together. They can do things that married people are allowed to do. But it's not even like a real marriage. Right? What's the validity to this marriage?
But you're wanting the girl to feel like she's actually married to you, so she will continue to stay with you.
Look, if anybody's doing this, like I said, it's usually a man manipulating a woman, right? And you see, subhanAllah, this is really sad. You'll see a lot of Muslim men, and this is straight up predatory behavior, right? They'll try to do this kind of stuff with like converts, right? Because they'll see a convert, or they'll get somebody to convert and then be like, hey, let's just do this marriage, whatever, and then they have their way with them, and then they just kind of ditch them and go, right? And I'm not saying it doesn't happen with like born Muslims either. It will happen, but like I said, this is predatory behavior. If some guy, and that's the reality, it's usually a guy doing this to a girl. If they find a girl that they basically they just want to mess around with them, and somehow find some type of comfort between themselves and the girl, that what we did was halal, right? Otherwise it's like what you're doing, how is it any different than a temporary marriage?
Temporary marriage. Like, I remember there was like somebody was talking about this one movie one time, and they were like in the movie they mentioned that the guy who was with the girl, and he's like, oh, okay, let's just do the temporary marriage, we just agree to it, and that's it.
The marriage, I've heard crazy stuff. Like there's a Muslim prostitute, I think in the UK or something, and I don't know if prostitute's the right word, sex worker, whatever, escort, whatever the term, whatever the PC term is, and she'll get, and I think she's Shia, right? So
it works for her.
It works for them to do the muta marriage, temporary marriage. She will literally have Sunni guys fly out from around the Muslim world, come to the UK. First, she'll have to get them to become Shia first, and then agree to muta marriage. Then they do their whole little girlfriend for hire thing, escort thing, and then that's it. This is the type of abuse that goes on with nikah, right?
I was watching a video today, actually. It was by a guy. He's like a Muslim speaker therapist, and he was talking about, he's like, he's from Scotland, and he was talking about guys, they go out with their buddies, and they'll go for the weekend, to a different country, and they'll hang out with prostitutes and escorts, and on the way back they'll buy a whole bunch of toys and for the kids, and nice watches and diamond rings for their wives. They don't tell them they did this, but it's sort of like, hey, I remembered you guys so much, and he's like, this is just pathetic.
So, look, I mean, everybody is prone to doing haram or making mistakes, or Shaytan. Number one, he, like, obviously Shaytan is not going to attack you by trying to get you to go and worship a tree, or worship a an idol, or worship a rock, or whatever. Now the tactics are like trying to get you to not believe that God exists at all. If you're in a happy halal relationship, wife, kids, he will try to break that up. You break up a family, then you ruin the lives, you ruin whatever the woman is going through. She might become less religious, the man might become less religious, the children may not even grow up to be Muslim anymore.
No, absolutely.
Right? So these are all tactics by Shaitan. We're all prone to it. We're all susceptible to it. So it's not even so much like, like you mentioned clergy, right? Clergy aren't free from it either.
Absolutely.
An imam, a sheikh, a da'i, I guess nowadays a lot of them are just motivational speakers.
No, they're just YouTubers.
They have a camera.
They have a camera like me.
Like, sitting in front of a camera. They're all going to be prone to it. They're all going to be susceptible to it. And because they're on the front lines, so they're more exposed to having either them being able to, somebody catching their eye, like if they're standing on the mimbar or giving a khutbah, giving a talk, doing a program, or they catch somebody's eye. Right.
Well, one of the problems we have, at least in the Western Muslim society, is celebrity worship. Where people go above and beyond. And if somebody, somebody made a fake celebrity Dari profile, and they sent a brother or a sister, if it was a female Daria or a male Dari, they sent somebody a request, hey, I want to be your friend. Immediately they'd be like, oh yeah, let's be friends. And then if they further progressed it and it became into spiritual abuse, I'm not going to say people would be okay with it, but people would be willing to go along with it. Like, oh, I can be this guy can be my husband, or this Daria or this famous Shaykh, I can be my wife. Oh, what a wonderful life it would be. That's one of the problems, is because of the culture.
Yeah, and look, like I said, because of the celebrity culture and whatnot, like it can happen because there's more exposure on both sides, right? You're exposed to more people are exposed to you. And I believe we were talking about this, like you mentioned there was a post that like, oh, sisters will see some of these speakers, some of these da'is, some of these shuyukh or alims or imams, be like, oh, that's a good man, that's a high quality man. So why don't I go for him? Why don't I try to be his first wife, second wife, whatever? Right. And then polygyny is a whole nother issue, right? But and it could be
a whole different subject.
Yeah. And then it could be vice versa, where it's like, oh, like I'm good, I'm able to take care of my family, I have one wife, like why can't I have another? Why can't I take in this one sister who seems good, and maybe she's having trouble finding somebody else, but we seem to click and get along, and whatever, I don't know, usually that takes like some type of interaction, consistent interaction, whether it's in person or DMs or whatever it is. Otherwise, how else are you supposed to know that?
And it's
you get along with
not
the person?
Like you're gonna sit in front of your wife like, hey, look, I'm talking to the sister, I'm famous, she wants to marry me, what should I do? That's where the problem really comes in, is because they're secretive. If the guy talks with his wife and he comes in front of the community and he's like, Shaykh Hanis, I'm famous, please do my nikah, and you do the nikah and everybody knows about it, that's then it's out in the open. But when it comes to spiritual abuse, it's not out in the open.
Yeah, like I say, if it's taking like a secret second wife or whatever, and even if you do it properly, whatever, our whole thing was like the illegitimate spiritual abuse marriages, right? That subhanallah, that's just like Shaytan completely taking control of your desires and your shahwa, like, right? Like really, like you have to be like really, I don't know, desperate, or just in too deep, and like maybe you do it once and then you just can't get enough and you keep doing it. Because look, you hear stories, and look, I'm not saying you're bringing this up because of what happened recently, but something high profile happened recently, and then other former high profile cases are resurfacing. They're all like
coming up now,
and it's like, it's just like, like they're not even doing it legitimately.
They're not doing it legitimately. Or had it's like an addiction now for a lot of
or had they tried to do it legitimately, there was some abuse going on somewhere else. Right? Either the guy was already married and he's abusing his first family in order to, gain second, third, whatever. Or there was just always some type of abuse or some type of shadiness going on. Or maybe it was like dude was just doing bad stuff with girls, and then he just found one girl to marry, and then if you're being bad with women that you're not even trying to marry, how are you going to be with your wife? Like, it's not going to change or anything.
Absolutely.
Or you're just like in too deep, and like you're just going around the country, around the world, maybe. Apparently this is happening around the world. You'll have one guy based in America, but he'll go to Europe, he'll go to Africa, he'll go to the Middle East, he'll go to these other countries, and then like just find women and be like, hey, like, let's quote unquote make this halal, but you're not, how are you making it halal? But then it's like, so there's, like I said, even if you did a secret marriage within the parameters of the Sharia, does that necessarily make it ethical? Like, look at, you got to look at your intentions, you got to look at what you're doing. You gotta, like, there's no legitimacy to this. You don't do it, stay away from it. It's kind of like, from like a I don't know, is this a sympathetic standpoint? It's like subhanAllah, like what kind of uh what's the word, like what kind of hold does Shaytan have on
Yeah.
you that you're doing this? And
Yeah.
not, and it's not like we find out that, oh, he just did this once. We find out that it's
It's
a
multiple
reoccurring thing,
recurring things.
right?
They just need to seek help. I think that's all it is.
Man,
Like serious help.
subhanallah, it's like what kind of help do you seek? Do you enroll yourself into sex addiction or like that type of therapy? Do you enroll yourself into some type of like mental therapy? Like it's like it's crazy because it's like you, just because you get married, you mentioned the hadith,
Yeah.
like marriage completes half of your deen.
Yeah.
Why? Because the the whole essence of marriage is to help protect yourself from falling into sin, and then you're supposed to become more responsible.
Yeah.
It's a way to help preserve your lineage, help preserve your chastity,
Yeah.
these things. So I think you sent me a clip of that guy. Who's that Tijani guy? What's his name? The no
Oh,
strings
Mati
attached.
Tijaniya.
Yeah. How he was talking about Muhammad Hijab told him that the main purpose of marriage is to protect your private
Yeah.
parts. I wouldn't say that's the main purpose, right? Everything within Islam
Yeah.
is to help protect
Yeah.
what they called, the five aspects of
Yeah.
Islam, the daruriyat al
Yeah.
khamsa, right? And like part of that is protecting your lineage, protecting your body, protecting your deen,
Yeah.
protecting um your mind. All
Yeah.
of these things, you're supposed to find that within marriage,
Yeah.
right? And that doesn't mean it's like a just one size fits all
Yeah.
solution. You're going to struggle within marriage.
Yeah.
You're Just because you become married doesn't mean that if you had problems lowering your gaze, you're going to suddenly be able
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you only have eyes for your wife.
Yeah.
I mean, we all want to be at that stage where
Yeah.
we only have eyes for our wives.
Yeah.
But it's like that doesn't mean people aren't going to struggle with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had a porn addiction before, it doesn't mean you're not going to
No,
suddenly,
absolutely.
like, some people use marriage as like a solution to
It's like a
these things.
switch. It doesn't work.
My son is messed up, my brother is messed up, so let's just get them married,
Yeah.
right?
Subhanallah, but we're gonna keep on
These are
going.
other issues, man.
But Jazakallah khair,
Yeah.
Sheikh. Inshallah, we'll follow up.
Any
Inshallah, in the next
any
episode.
any concluding questions or remarks or
No, no,
anything?
nothing. No concluding. Inshallah, we'll
Okay.
continue. That's why.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh,
Wa iyyak.
for your time.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.